it gets pretty good 10 hours in. And then pretty bad 150 hours in, Inazuma 11 Victory Road. The game is finally out. It's been out for a little bit now, and I figured it's about damn time I talk about this game. I have been waiting for this game for, a little while. And when it dropped, I spent dozens upon hundreds of hours just playing soccer with my anime boys and girls, and it has been a time and a half. In just a few months, it's already become my most played game on Steam. I have not put that many hours into one game that fast in years. Naturally, with a game that I've been waiting this long for, I'm gonna have a lot of thoughts about it. And for a game with this much shit in it, naturally, there's a lot of shit to talk about. So I'm just gonna talk about it. Not a whole lot of fancy schmancy editing or anything like that in this one. It's gonna be all just me and a webcam like it's 2009. That's when the best game came out. I just start with focusing mostly on the story mode because that is the part that I cared the most about when the game came out. Honestly, if everything else was bad and this was good, that was all I needed for this to be a good game in my eyes. And the story mode overall, I would say it delivered. Honestly, after the demo, my expectations were shot up pretty high because it was a lot of fun. It had really good storytelling and I liked the characters. So, I was excited to see the full story of Unmei and all of his funny soccer friends. And, while I was still excited and impressed from the demo, I had a little bit of worry in me because up to this point, Level 5 storytelling had been kinda here and there the past few things. Like Ares and Orion, I like them, but they have a lot of problems. Yokai Watch Shadowside was not very good. I don't play Layton, but I hear Catriel was just complete dog shit. And then, Y Academy was actually pretty good. Here and there, some of it's good, some of it's bad, so I was hoping this one would be another smash hit. And, I didn't know if they really still had it in them to make a good story, but Victory Road made me happy. Storytelling, characters, all of it mostly kinda hit for me, honestly. Starting with Unmei as the protagonist, he is a really good one. Compared to the ones that came before, he is entirely different. He's not, a plucky, upbeat shonen boy. We kind of had, 3 of those already, so it was time for something different, and Unmei absolutely delivered. I got really invested in his personal story of rediscovering his love for soccer, and sort of getting used to playing it with his illness, and sort of seeing soccer through his friends and living vicariously through them. Him being a manager, but still having fun with the sport was really compelling, and I liked that for the entire story. His disability was a focal part of his character, but not the entirety of his character. And also, I'm not gonna lie, I was half expecting they would pull some Akihiro Kino bullshit. And Kageyama would come back and be like, hey, I can fix your medicine through, or I can fix your disability through some Go Galaxy type bullshit that we just made up right now. But thankfully, they didn't do that. For the entire time, that stays. He's disabled. I feel like they really course-corrected from Asto, who was very much in the background too much at times, and Unmei is always in the foreground. Every chapter, every moment, there's always something with that Unmei guy. He's always very present and entertaining. And he's got a super fun personality too. He's very smarmy and very blunt. He says what he means all the time. And he's just a lot of fun. He can be kind of a dick sometimes, and I think that's entertaining. And he's very, analytical. He takes a very different approach to soccer than the ones that came before, who always just, do your best, let's go, gambare. And he just has a lot of, weird little quirks here and there. He gets really obsessed with Castella cakes, and he just does random shit. He's just a little weirdo, and I enjoy that. Now, just because it's very Unmei focused, doesn't mean the rest of the team is, nothing burgers. They're pretty good as well. It is definitely maybe a little too Unmei focused sometimes, but the rest of the crew I still enjoy. Sakurazaki is great, Kamiya is awesome, especially in the second half of the game where they just love the piss out of Kamiya. He gets so many good moments. Raika, Yagi are really fun. Kisoji is a Hall of Fame character for me. I think the whole Nagamahara cast is pretty good. One of the best ones. And I really like how they have a lot more build up to their eventual joining compared to previous seasons. I've heard some people say that after they join, they sort of just lose relevance and are in the background. And I can kind of see that a tiny bit with Raika and especially Shizendo. I like him, but he's very much, once he joins, he's there. But the fact that we have so much actual build up to these characters joining, we get so much insight into like their backstories, their motivations, their thoughts and opinions and all that, makes them a lot more compelling than ones that have came before. Like, think back to the original seasons, right? Like, the original Raimon, half the cast is already there, and some of the ones that join, they don't do much. Like, I enjoy me some Max, but like, what does he do, you know? And in Go, they're all just immediately there. We don't get to know a lot of them. And like a lot of them is like, again, what do they do? What does Hamino do? I like Hamino, but what does he do? And in areas, again, they're all just there. We don't get a lot of build up to them joining. You don't get to see what really makes them tick. But the Nagamahara cast, like, we get to see a lot more of them. And there's a lot of little tidbits here and there through like just random offbeat dialogue, or like the Enochord messages, or in side quests. And we got a lot of good characterization for this whole cast. And while I do like Unmei, he is probably the standout of the crew, I gotta give extra special love to Heita Kisoji, my favorite character in Victory Road. Generally with series, I can kinda sense when a character is one that I'm gonna like, and I just saw him immediately and I was like, I feel like I'm gonna like him. But even still, I was really impressed with how much depth he got. He's got a very fun, lively, upbeat personality generally, but they sort of build up like his little internal struggles pretty early on, and we get that developed more and more through the story, and that climaxes in his big focus chapter, which is just amazing in my eyes. Like, his arc very much reminds me of Fret from Neo The World Ends With You, and that is one of my favorite RPG characters, so Kisoji reminding me of that is just immediate 2 thumbs up. I wish I had 4. Honestly, this whole cast, I just really like every single one of them. And I really hope we get more of them in an eventual sequel or DLC or whatever they do. And besides our main crew, there's other really good characters too. Obviously, Haru Endo is probably the big main other focus character. And we get a lot of insight into him as well. There's like segments where you get to actually play as him in certain parts. And we get to see like his family life, what he thinks about soccer. We get to see him like grow into loving the sport, similarly to Unmei as well. Get to know about his backstory and all that. And he's another very standout character. Pretty obviously, I would say. The first scene where he meets with Unmei is genuinely really high quality. You know, he's presented as the guy, one of the big prodigies, but he's not like arrogant, pompous or anything. He's not even really that into soccer at first. We get to see him actually learn to enjoy the sport. We get to see him like crumble under the pressure of being the prodigy or whatever. He's a very interesting take on this sort of like prodigy character, which they do a lot in these types of things. And then of course there's characters like Soramiya, who's great too, Saijo, who we see later on in the story, who I really like. Alice is a fun character too. There's a lot of really good ones. In terms of pure character writing, this is one of the most high quality Inazuma entries to date. And besides the characters itself, the actual moment to moment writing is really good. Like, the interactions feel very natural, and the game is surprisingly funny. I was laughing out loud at so many of the gags they were doing, whether they were main quest or side quest stuff. The side quests are just a complete, like, just goofball fest, just a complete stand-up comedy routine. 2 guys walk into a bar, what are they gonna say? What silly shenanigan or weakness? So many funny NPCs, and it's all fully voiced too, that just adds a lot to it. Once you start getting into matches, every chapter there's a few new side matches with extra teams you can fight, and they're always just like funny cutscenes with goofy characters, and they're all just, again, I was genuinely laughing out loud at some of these. There's really good gag writing. I can tell Hino at his heart loves himself from gag manga. This feels very much like a shonen gag manga sometimes rather than a shonen sports manga. Does it both really excellently. So while I do like the side quests, like I said, they're really funny, I feel like they could have used better use of the whole Nagamahara cast. It's usually just Unmei, and someone else is probably Kisoji. I feel like we could have had a lot more like Sakurazaki or Kamiyo or Raika. She's in a few of them too, and she's fun there. But I feel like they could have had a more equal spread of characters peppered throughout the side quests. Especially the selectable ones. I wish they had side quests or anything to do. The story itself builds up really nicely, and once you get into matches, I feel like the pacing sort of like smooths out and is a lot more consistent. And there's a lot of really good moments, like I mentioned, Kisoji gets a really good character arc later. Once we fight Teikoku, that match is really good too. The finale is one of the coolest things I've ever seen the series done. It does a very unique thing that I never would have expected that like blew my mind, and I just really loved playing that one. Yeah, but it's not all sunshine, storms, and rainbow loops in this one. There's a few moments in the story that are kinda lame. One thing towards the beginning is that they built up this like secret with what happened with the Nagamahara soccer club in the past. And what is it? Why did it have to shut down? And when we get that reveal, it's like kinda eh. The events that perspire make sense, and it's not badly written, but it's not really built up as well as it could be, and the payoff just had me going, okay, that's it. It's that guy. In Chapter 8, the Teikoku chapter, there's a certain part with other characters that is horribly written. One of the worst things Hino's written since, like, he's done a lot of bad writing sometimes. And also, this game has a villain, and there has not been a good villain in the series since Kageyama. That's still true, but like besides a few annoyances here and there, the story itself is really good, and pretty easily I would say either the third best or maybe fourth best. The OG Inazuma 1 story is just really charming, but this one is just so consistently good. Sure, there's a few hiccups, but I like for the most part what they do. And playing it too is almost just as fun for the most part. Or I should say, playing it eventually gets good, because for the first few chapters, you're mostly doing the RPG turn-based focus battles, and they're not very good. They were actually better in the beta, where you had more control over your party, and they had like unique sort of almost jobs. But they sort of simplified it in the full game and took out all of the challenge. It is piss easy and so monotonous and boring, to the point where outside of the scenarios being kind of funny, I didn't really have to engage with them. You can turn on the auto battle and just kind of do it. Mash the button away, you'll just win. There's no challenge ever, and they're not even entertaining to boot. I don't know what happened or why Hino made them so much worse in the beta. The one saving grace is that they're kind of fast, but they're not fun, so I don't really care about the speed. Like, you know, Final Fantasy IX has a slow battle system, but it's still fun. This may be fast, but I don't enjoy doing the focus battles. Luckily, the other minigames I actually do enjoy, and there's a lot of just random bullshit in there. There's a whole dance battle segment, you can eat ramen, there's the specific training minigames you can do too, and those are all pretty fun in their own way. They don't overstay their welcome to, so if you don't even really like them, they're just kind of over with. But like, I enjoy them. But like, you can eat ramen and dance, cool, who gives a shit? I'm here to play soccer, and the soccer matches in this game are really good. I think the system they constructed for Victory Road really works well in story mode, and every match feels pretty fun. It might be a little bit on the easy side, but like, I'm kind of used to the series being on the easy side, so I was kind of expecting it. But they still offer some very fun, unique challenges. In the first real match you have, the story is scripted so you lose 2 goals by default, and you have to make that back at a limited time. And it's actually a fairly respectable challenge that I quite enjoyed really early on. And they're always doing just fun little things to add a little bit of spice and challenge to the story mode missions. Like in the Teikoku match, you have to adapt to all the new tactics they add. In the Arashiyama match, enemies have a unique bonus that you don't get until later in that match. I can dance around the spoilers. I just really like playing soccer in story mode. There's so many extra matches that you just don't really have to play, but I just kind of did anyway because I was just having so much fun. And I liked using my team that I made myself. It's a really fun Inazuma experience. Though there is one thing that I don't like that ties to another thing in the game that I haven't mentioned yet, and to do that, I kind of have to spoiler, so here's the thing here. So after you do the Hokyo match with Soramiya and Shinano, you get a surprise that they join the team. Not just Soramiya, or Shinano too, the entire team. They have a whole school merge, so you get the entirety of Hokyo to use, which is honestly f***ing crazy, and one of the most, like, unique things the series has done to this day. I also, don't really like it very much. So this is a bit of a long-standing tradition with the series. In the original one, after Kido lost, he joined Raimon, and then in Go, I guess you can count Tsurugi joining Raimon, then in Ares, Haizaki joined Raimon. So like, I feel like me and every fan thought Soramiya would join eventually after he lost to Raimon, but no one expected the whole team merge, and I mean, I didn't either. One I think it's very funny how the Japanese declining birth rate led to the merger of the schools. I love that it's a plot point. That's so goddamn funny. But the actual merger itself, I don't think I'm a huge fan. Narratively, it's kinda neat and leads to more Soramiya moments and facilitates Kisoji's arc, but they don't do a lot with a lot of the extra Hokyo members. Like, we don't really get a lot out of Tomobe or Jinai or Shinkari or whatever. And you're forced to use Soramiya and Shinano in every match afterwards. So in previous games, there's always key characters in matches. Like, for example, in the first game in Sengoku Igajima, you need to use Endo because he's the MC, Kazemaru because he's story relevant there, and Goenji because he has a move of Kazemaru there. But the rest of the team, you can switch it up if you want. And that has been the case for every game up to Victory Road. In every story match, you have to use your Nagamahara 6 members, and once they join, you have to use Soramiya and Shinano. Which isn't the worst thing because I like Soramiya, I would probably use him anyway, but it means you're locked out of using all 5 of your selectable members. That's a big thing in the game, they want you to use these 5 members, but once they join, I hope you have a big 3, because 2 of them are getting the hell on the bench. It's just like a weird disconnect between the intent of the game design of having your own, team you made from scratch, and just locking you into these members. And for some of them, it's not a case of like, they're always relevant in matches. It's like if they appear for 1 second in a cutscene, you gotta use them in a match. And that's just kind of, I don't really want to use that. More specifically, I don't want to use Masashi Shinano. Every day, I wake up with fresh hatred, directed entirely at Masashi Shinano. I f***ing hate that guy. He's Soramiya's buddy and the former captain of Hokyo, and once he joins your crew, just like Soramiya, you have to use him. Problem is, he lacks a personality, or any characteristics, or any dynamics, or anything interesting about him whatsoever. He says nothing, he does nothing, he just hogs up a space that I could use for the characters that I actually want to give a shit about, but I have to use this stupid, ugly, bum bitch Shinano, who I cannot stand, because he is not a bad character necessarily, he's not a character necessarily, he sucks so much, and he's forced onto me, and I don't like him. Slight, moderate, little spoiler a bit, probably last thing I'll spoil, towards the end of the game, before the final match, you have your like, RPG pre-match thing where your whole team talks about how far they come and what they're gonna do and whatnot, and everyone says their little thing. You know, your Nagamahara 6, Soramiya, your selectable characters say a thing too. You know who just stands there and doesn't say jack shit? Masashi Shinano! Man, this guy. He joins the ranks of one of my least favorite characters in the franchise. I cannot stand Masashi Shinano, and I hope nothing but the worst from him. If he's on Inazuma Japan, I'm gonna frown. Because of this stupid piece of shit, Itadaki and Fukura had to sit on the bench, which I guess it's time to talk about the selectable characters, because that was one of the things I was most hyped about going into this game. Alright, the selectable characters were one of the things that was the most hyped to see going into this game. It was such a cool, novel idea, and it seemed like they were promising a lot with these 15. So once Yagyu joins, you get to really finish out your team with these 5 characters you choose out of these 15. You line them all up and you hold these tryouts. You do a fun little scramble minigame and you ask them questions. It's fun the first time. Kind of fun the second time. Oh, we're doing it again, and 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 again. I chose Ayashino, Koteuchi, Hoshi, Itadaki, and Fukura, because those 5 really spoke to me in their designs. Ironic, because god I wish they would speak to me with their voices! I ended up being kinda disappointed with this feature. Gameplay wise, I actually really enjoyed them. Training them up and making them into whatever position I wanted to was pretty fun. Like, they start as their own default, but you can kind of mold them into what you want. For example, Koteuchi is a defender for some reason, even though she learns some defensive moves. So I really freaking worked her over and made her into one of my main attackers. And then I made Hoshi into one of my defensive walls because I didn't have any defensive capabilities at the time. I feel like these guys are pretty malleable and you can kind of have fun with them and make them into whatever position you want, kinda. Training them up, making them viable, giving them fun moves, I really enjoyed this part of the game. But I did have some things that I wish they did more of. For example, they all have unique Hisatsu, but they're all just recolors or reskins of existing ones. Which, granted, I guess that's kind of on me. They never promised they would get unique Hisatsu, but I just kinda hoped they would. Now they did promise they would be story relevant, and they just kind of aren't. They say a thing occasionally every now and then during a cutscene, but it's very much like, you get a scene that plays out. They have a whole conversation, and then they say their thing. Or like, they'll have an Enochord conversation, and then one of them will say a thing, and they won't really talk to them. They make additional comments, they don't really engage in conversation. And I really wish they did. Going back to the side quests, I wish these guys had their own side quests to really flesh them out and give them more interactions. And I wish that even more because Ayashino actually got a side quest. There's one multi-long side quest where you find this cat a few times, and at the end of it, freaking Ayashino just shows up out of nowhere, and it really floored me because at no point before or after did anything like this happen. So I was just like, whoa, I didn't know they could do that. And they never did it again. You know how parents say, I don't have a favorite child, but you always know they do. Yeah, Ayashino was their favorite child. He appeared in way more promo material. He has 2 unique Hisatsu, and again, he has that side quest appearance. So they really just love this guy more than any of the others for some reason. When Hino said he added 5 more last minute, I was like, what are you doing? That's insane. But I kind of get how he could do that because they really don't. They just don't say much. So while I did enjoy using them, I was hoping for more out of it. But I do still like them, like on the design front. I enjoy training them and playing with them and using them in my matches. But there's just little parts here that if one part was better, I think I would have liked the whole mechanic as a whole. I would have liked if they talked more in the story. I would have liked if they had unique Hisatsu, because god, this game could have used more Hisatsu. Kind of. Victory Road has a very Smash Ultimate Stage list situation with its Hisatsu, because they focus so much on bringing back a lot of the old moves that there's kind of a diabolically low amount of new ones. I counted maybe like 20 or so, and that's really not a lot when every single game before them had at least like maybe 50 or so. I'm not really sure the actual number, but they had a lot more, I can tell. Technically speaking, Victory Road has a lot more Hisatsu, but again, take out the 16 reskinned ones, and even then, some of them are reusing bits of animation. Raimon in this game has less unique Hisatsu than like Occult or Nosei. Like going back to those in Chronicle mode, I was like, wow, Raimon doesn't really have that many new things. Like there's Haru's Hisatsu, and there's a few ones that the team has, like there's Bahamut Crash and Tiger God Hand. But again, Bahamut Crash is a Dragon Slayer reskin for some reason. It's really disappointing. Tiger God Hand is like kind of a Fist of Justice reskin, a little bit. It's original enough that I can let it slide, but like it's obvious they're reusing the animations. That's kind of it. It's really weird how I think outside of Nishinomiya, I think every team has more unique Hisatsu than Raimon does. That's just weird, right? If you're new to the series, this is not an issue to you because everything is new. But if you're like me and you know the series encyclopedically, you know, it's a little rough seeing the same guys over and over again. You know, granted, it was nice seeing guys I haven't seen since Inazuma 3. You know, it's like Tsunami Boost, or Excalibur, or Galatine, or whatnot. Like, damn, they got Dog Run and Hurricane Arrows and whatnot. You know, I haven't seen them since Inazuma 11-3. And that's really cool. But, you know, it's a new game. I want to see new stuff. Now, another thing I was really hyped for was the scouting. Hype isn't the right word. Trepidatious, scared, fearful. Because in Go, it was awful. And Victory Road, it's better. So instead of that pallet packing nonsense where you needed very specific items that you had to find in random drops, and specific NPC topics which you would just find in random NPCs, you know what you're getting with the Victory Road Scouts. Once it unlocks, you just go up to someone, you talk to them, you give them an item, you talk to them again, and they say, hey, do this thing. And it's usually like, you know, do a few special moves, or find me a certain item, or just something that you know and can easily identifiably do. But some of the requirements are complete fucking bonkers nonsense. Like, a lot of them have you going into other modes and doing stuff there. And I'm sorry, I don't care how cool your design is. I'm not doing the f***ing town builder mode. I still don't know why they can't make scouting as good as it was in the original few games. They just keep reinventing the wheel, and every time the wheel just kinda sucks ass. But you know, I've been complaining a lot, but for the most part, I really thoroughly enjoyed the story mode. The storytelling is good, I like the characters, the gameplay is fun. Most of it just kinda hits. Presentation too is good. I like the 2D animated cutscenes, the in-engine cutscenes are really well animated too. I love the character designs. Nagano does not miss with the series, and he has never missed. Whether it's relevant main characters, just complete side note characters that are filling out teams, the random scouts, there's just so many incredible designs here. And I don't know how he can still make so many memorable, just likable, just recognizable and distinct characters so consistently this many years in. Like, he's made thousands of characters for this series and he's still pumping out 10 out of 10 designs. This guy is a god. He is a wizard. And I love going into the gallery and just seeing like all the different designs he's made and like all the little like design sheets and like the Hisatsu storyboards. There's so many cool stuff in that gallery. And the story mode at all is just like, there's a lot of just good stuff. And the whole game is like fully voiced too, and the voice acting is incredible. Funny when it needs to, it's emotional when it needs to, it's hype when it needs to be. Every VA is just putting the most effort into it, which is why I cannot imagine playing the English dub of this game. It's one of those ones that's recorded in Japan. I've never seen an English dub made in Japan that's not completely awful, and this is no different. From the casting to the directing to the voice acting, all of it just doesn't hit. So many voices either don't fit the character, or if they fit, they just have really stiff direction, really bad acting, and there's just so many just outright bad voices too. And even if the voice acting was good, I would still say the dub is worse, because so many times it's just not there. So many scenes that are voiced in Japanese just straight up are not voiced in English. Those side matches I mentioned earlier, not voiced in English. Pivotal story moments sometimes just aren't voiced in English. Like, this isn't a spoiler, but, you know, Haru Endo, he has a unique Hisatsu, and he shows it off in the match with him. You know, this is a pivotal, important moment, so of course it's voiced. Not in English, it's just not voiced, and it's just weird. It just kind of cheaped out in so many parts. And most prominently, if you play this game in English, you have the announcer voices and story mode voices, but the Chronicle mode is just not voiced at all beyond the first cutscene. The Chronicle mode was the other big important mode showcase for this game. You know, a time traveling adventure where you go through all the previous Inazuma stories and play through all the matches from across the different series. From the OGs to the Ghosts to Ares and Orion, there is a heaping helping of content, all wrapped around a unique original story set after Chrono Stone. There is not much wrapping paper here, yet the original story parts of Chronicle mode are very light. There's a very long intro cutscene, but then after that, you don't really get much talking until usually either midway or all the way through the respective games campaigns. So you will be going hours without hearing Vic and the rest of the crew talk about anything. And honestly, I'm okay with that, because when they are talking, God, I just do not give a singular shit about anything they're saying. The actual Chronicle mode story starts out pretty well, but like, either because the content is so sparse, or just because the characters are just kind of boring, I just can't really muster up much interest. In a game with a protagonist like Unmei, V is just so much more boring in comparison. And even forget comparison, he's just boring, period. He's a very generic, just, I like soccer and want to do the good thing child. Like, we've had this before. He's not doing anything new. Wonderbu's kinda fun as he was before, and once an arc shows up, I'm listening more because I actually like that character. But again, just the story isn't really entertaining. The bits of lore they add is just like whatever. I'm not that invested in the actual story, and I don't care about V. Like, we get more of his backstory, and it's so generic, using tropes Hino has used time and time again. Faye shows up and I'm like, wow, I still don't really care about you. If that's who I think it is, this kind of renders the entire emotional core of Faye's character moot, right? I'm already not a Chronostone fan, so that's not helping me not care about the story, but when they start talking, I am just tuning the f out so hard. But you know, that's because I'm just not really here for that. I'm here to re-experience the magic of all the different Inazuma entries, and playing through the matches, I'm having a pretty solid time. It's once again pretty easy. I think the difficulty, or lack thereof, really shows more here than in story mode, because if you want, you can just kind of breeze through kind of everything. The main issue I've seen is the need to play through all the matches twice to progress. The first time, it's the scripted matches with the familiar story. Second time, it's just the free match with whatever team you concocted. I kinda like this structure. You know, the first one, it's a glorified just series of cutscenes with gameplay, but I actually enjoy just, you know, seeing the moments recreated here. They do skip a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's reasonable, sometimes it's really weird the stuff they skip. It's focused entirely on the matches, so like pre-match stuff sometimes gets cut, post-match stuff sometimes get cut. In between content, it's all just gone. So sometimes things will just happen and you won't really know what's going on if you don't know the series. Like in Inazuma 11 2, characters really just keep coming and going. But without the context, you're just like, wait, why is Somayoka gone here? Wait, where did Kazemaru go? What's going on here? And like some of the stuff they skip is just really weird, but like, you know, I know it, so it's not that big of a deal. But it is kind of a bummer to see some of the stuff that I like get skipped. Again, structurally, it's very much like a Dragon Ball Budokai game or a Naruto Ninja Storm game. You know, those kinds of games where they get the broad strokes of the story. And I can't speak as a newbie because I'm anything but a newbie. I feel like someone new would get confused from all the stuff they skip. But I would say that about those kinds of games too, like Dragon Ball and Naruto, but people have gotten into them like that. So, hey, what the f do I know? Once you beat the story matches, you unlock the Chronicle route matches where you can just play with whatever team you want and then fight to move on. And that's where I just kind of had fun. You know, throughout Inazuma 1 and 2, I was just kind of cycling in random characters, whether they're Raimon, other ones, or random scouts. You know, I was just messing around, just throwing my toys at the wall. It was fun. For IE3, I built a girls team, because as an Inazuma fan, if you don't build an all-girls team, you're just gonna get burned at the stake. Replaying the original 3 entries, I was like, yeah, these are still kind of the best ones. Go 1 was surprisingly fun as well. Who the f***ing thunk? Turns out when you cut all the extra bullshit from Go that sucks, it's a little bit better. It's just the matches, and I kind of actually enjoyed them. And the Chronostone route was that one kinda stunk. Not because of anything in Victory Road, but because I really realized how repetitive Chronostone was going through the route. Because without the extra stuff, it is just Protocol Omega match, Protocol Omega match, Protocol Omega match, Protocol Omega match, Protocol Omega match. You fight the same guys over and over and over again. Like in Inazuma 2, sure, you fight Gemini Storm 3 times, but it's broken up with matches against like the SP Fixers and Hakuren, so you know, it feels like you're getting a variety. But no, in Chronostone, it's the same thing over again, and that their fun part comes up when? I knew I didn't like Chronostone already, but replaying it, I really realized how much I just don't enjoy the matches of it. I don't enjoy any of the story bits of it. I just don't like Chronostone. I had an absolutely miserable time. But honestly, I was holding out for the Galaxy and Arizona Orion routes. The latter because, you know, that's the new stuff to the game. And Galaxy route because I wanted to play through Galaxy with my team of Go Inazuma Japan, but it doesn't piss me off. I made this with blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of those 3 things. Holy shit, this sucked to make. The Chronicle mode is alright, but I realized how much team building sucks playing through this mode. Now, getting the characters, it's already a little bit annoying because you have to go through this booster pack system, a sort of gacha gamey type system where you just draw packs of 12 and get spirits for your characters which you can then turn into actual characters. It's not the worst, but it's just RNG and I don't love that ever. I don't love the booster packs. It's not the worst though. If you want just a character from a team you fight in the Chronicle route, you can just go into that match either in competition mode or in Chronicle mode and just fight the team and hope for a drop there. So it's more, centralized. You're more likely to get the one you want. But if you want a random scout that you like the design of, get to rolling, buddy! I just don't love it. It's a very gacha gamey system, and those are like the worst kinds of games in existence. But don't worry, this game has more! Victory Road has like dozens upon dozens of currencies for no good reason. There are the Chronicle mode currencies, the Versus mode currencies, BB Stadium currencies, the Bomb Town currencies, the Story mode currencies, Spirits are their own currency, and within each of these categories there's like 8 different currencies for some godforsaken reason, and they don't have actual differences, they're just arbitrarily attributed to different things to buy. So it makes getting moves an absolute nightmare, and is such a grind for no reason. If you want to build your team, either just like at a base level of give them cool moves, or the highest level of like you want online viability, be prepared to grind. The best way I can describe this is to run through a scenario that I experienced firsthand in Victory Road. So, playing through the Galaxy route, I was making my Inazuma Japan team, and because I was going kinda slowly, oops, the Ares update came out, and it added a bunch of new moves, including the new override mechanic, which they called Overburst in the game for some reason. Whatever, that's fine, fine name. And one of the moves they added was White Double Impact, or Cold Front. I wanted to give this move to Yukimura and Makari, because, they're the 2 Hakuren boys. I wanted to give them the cool move. To do this move, each one needs to learn Eternal Blizzard. Neither of them naturally learn Eternal Blizzard. Eternal Blizzard cost, I think, 26 Rice Balls and 26 of, I think it's the Aki Notes. I needed 2 of these, so I needed 52 Rice Balls and 52 Aki Notes. I had like 2 because I spent them on probably other stuff. So I had to go into the Ogre match, the highest difficulty, and by default you get at minimum 4 Rice Balls per match. So I had to just sit there and turn on the computer controlled mode just to grind it out, and I was AFK farming for like a couple of hours just to get these 2 moves so I can get basically 1 combo move on 2 of my characters. Mind you, this is a team of 16, and if I wanted to do stuff for those characters, multiply what I said by like 16 plus. So it might take you dozens of hours to get all the moves you want to properly make 1 team. It's so tedious for no goddamn reason, and it's so annoying. And what I wanted to do was on the cheaper end, because half the moves that I wanted to get, like Great Blaster or Diffuse Chord, are specifically ones you get in the Versus store. And for those moves, you need currency that you can, for the most part, get from grinding offline Versus matches, but there are 2 specific currencies called Victory Stones and a different one, Victory Stars, that you can only get from online matches. Okay, fine, I'll do some online matches. If you win, you get 5. If you tie, you get, I think like a few less. And if you lose, you don't get any, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it's just 1 or 2. The thing is, playing online is horrible. It's just awful. It's just the worst. You will either get one of 2 outcomes. A, someone is playing like you and is just farming. Usually they're AFK farming, so they're just not there. And okay, you can grind easily for material and get stuff there. But what if you want to play online just a regular match? Sorry, they're AFK farming, you can't do that. Or alternatively, again, you want to get these things, you want to get these stones, and you need 60 or 70 of them. You get 5 per match. So let's say you're winning all your matches. You need to win at least 12 or 14 of these to get 1 move on 1 character. And the thing is, most matches you play online, you're not gonna win. Unless you have already spent the time grinding your characters up to the max level with max experience, max equipment, accessories, passives, everything. You are just getting your ass smoked online because people have figured out the meta, and it is an abysmal dog shit meta where you use the same 2 different playstyles of either Justice or Rough Play and just grind tension and just get to the point where your characters are just freaking super strong so you can just do 10-0, and you're just getting 10-0 if you haven't done that basically. In my experience, I am just getting smoked if I haven't done that. And again, I'm not even just trying to win. I'm just trying to grind materials to get cool moves. And I can't do that if I can't win online matches. But because I haven't already done the grinding necessary to win these matches, I can't win to get the things that I need to get the cool moves for my characters to win these matches. And again, let me just reiterate how this thing works. If I want to get Great Blaster on Tsurugi and Hakuryu, I have to play and win at least 12 online matches. Or I think it's 14 because it costs 70. If I want to get one like Diffuse Chord on Shindo, a move he learns canonically, which you don't learn naturally, you can't get naturally, grind for hours. If I want to get Fire Lemonade Rising, grind for hours. If I want to get Kori no Yari for Hira, grind for hours. Half the moves are arbitrarily put in either the Chronicle store or the Versus store. If they're in the Chronicle store, I might have to grind to get them, but it's possible. If it's in the Vault Versus store, I just give up. Cause it's just not fun to grind so hard. And it's so annoying that in the game I was so hyped for, I was spending time either AFK farming or just grinding for materials. Because again, it takes hours just to get one move. Mind you, you might want multiple of that move or other moves for one character. So if you want to outfit your character with 3 different moves, you might have to grind for like up to 5 to 10 hours just for one character. Let me remind you, your team is 16. So that means you're going to grind and 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 grind for hours on end. Just to have a team that's not even viable. Just kind of cool. Because everything that I was saying is just for moves. There's also equipment, accessories, Hisatsu tactics, stadiums. If you want to mess with Bond Town, there's stuff there too. There's so many other things to buy, and most of them are in the same pool as either the Chronicle stuff or the Versus stuff. So you have to allocate what you want to buy and spend money on that. But you can't get that if you spend on that, or that, or that, or that, or that, or that. There's just so much tedious grinding, and it takes forever to team build. Team building sucks. I built 2 teams pretty much fully, and neither one was fun. I kind of felt proud by the end because I spent so much time on it, but I felt drained because I spent so much time on it. Here's the thing. With how much time I spent on the teams, it still doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, what matters more are passives. If you don't have the right set of passives, which is a separate thing to grind entirely, you are still going to get smoked online because people have found the correct passives to win every single time. My team is at level 99. They're fully leveled up. I even put beans on them and equipment and whatnot. Doesn't f***ing matter. They're getting smoked because I haven't built the right passes and the right team composition. I haven't done every single thing. I've done 4 out of 5 of the things basically, but the 5th thing is the most important, and I just don't like the passive system at all. Sure, technically speaking, it makes every team, even if they have the exact same characters, completely unique. In practice, it makes it so people play the same 2 sets of teams every single time. Doesn't matter who the characters are, it matters what the passives are. If it's the right passives, they're winning. For my curiosity, I watched footage from a recent tournament just to see what the meta is looking like, and it is honestly exactly what I feared. People running the exact same team setups and the exact same tactics, and basically doing the exact same unfun strategy because it's just optimal. If playing lame is optimal, why would you not do it? It's not fun for a spectator, but it means you're gonna win. They're playing Victory Road with like 2 yen on the line, so they're gonna min-max all their shit to do it. And I can't blame them. The systems in play aren't fun. That's not their fault, they're just working with what they got. Me on the other hand, I don't want to work with the systems. I haven't even mentioned the hyper power-ups, which I absolutely hate. I thought Kessions would be the worst thing added to this game. I was not ready for Awakenings. Because Awakenings, while visually they're pretty lame, they give you a stat boost and a speed boost, so you're just going super fast. And they're also just basically a win button, where if you haven't built up the meter, you can't beat someone who's using the meter, basically. It's just a free interaction win, they get into your goal, and then boom, they just score on you. Again, it adds to the bullshittery of all these systems, and once again, hyper power-ups are another thing you have to grind for! Not to mention the beans too. They're pretty easy to put on your characters, that part's fine, but you really won't get enough of them fast enough to fill your whole team with the ones you need. And God forbid you want to build up a second team because you're just running out of beans. Time to go and grind some more! And furthermore, ranking up your characters is also more annoying than it used to be. In the beta, if you had a character at the lowest rank and a version of them at the highest rank, you could give the high-ranking spirit to the low-ranking character, and they would instantly shoot up to the highest rank. Now, for some reason, they changed it in the full game, so you have to go step by step by step, and just spend so much more beans and so much more time making up your characters. And it's just more tedious and time-consuming for no benefit. If you like the systems in play for this to be like a forever game, or just make everything take f***ing forever. If this isn't your full-time job, Hino says to go f*** yourself. It turned a game I was absolutely loving into a game I just get tired thinking about playing. It doesn't feel like I'm engaging with these systems because I want to and they're fun. I'm doing it because I'm basically forced to, or I won't be able to do anything multiplayer-wise. It's just not conducive to a fun time. It's a waste of time. It's very like grindy, almost like live servicey, kind of like a gacha game too. And that's just a bunch of things that I don't like game design wise, and this game just has so much of that. Yeah, here's just like a few other things that I wanted to mention because I didn't have another place to mention them, so I'm just gonna talk about them here. One of my biggest pet peeves with the game is at the point where it's become a pet peeve into an actual problem. Linking characters in Hisatsu is more annoying than it used to be. For combo moves, in the old games, let's say you wanted to use Emperor Penguin number 2 as Kido, and always have Goenji and Somayoka use it. You would go into the menu, choose the move, and just choose your partners. In Victory Road, this isn't the case anymore. You can kinda do that. In the bond link thing, you can kinda chain your characters together and they will do the moves. But it's just another thing that's just more tedious than it used to be for no benefit. Sure, it sounds like it works, but let me run you a scenario again. Kote Uchi, I taught her Revolution V because why not? I wanted to give her a shot move. And I had her do it with Raika. Okay, sure, that works. But then later, I gave Kote Uchi Ichiyaja Overnight Castle because, you know, her old stick is like Kendo Japanese type thing. I thought it fit, thought it'd be fun. It's a 3-person defense move. Let's say I want to have her use that move with Ayashino and Kameo. Why not? Because I linked her with Raika. Raika will always appear in both moves, so I can't customize both moves as I fully want to. It doesn't affect gameplay stat-wise, it's just purely visual. But it's a system that worked perfectly and was changed for no good reason. I don't know why they did it like that. Thing 2. I love the Japanese name toggle being a thing. I always have that on because I'm just not calling him Destin Billows. You can't make me. I'm never going to do that. But it kinda isn't perfect. Sure, it gets the brunt of what I would want the character names, but the schools still use their localized names, which like, I don't mind as much, but it's kind of weird that it's not all the way through. But it is kind of through in some ways. Like if you change it to the Japanese name toggle, South Cirrus changes back to Nagamahara. Okay, I like that. None of the other schools change, so it's just kind of this weird disconnect. Like you'll have Nagamahara versus West Manor. That just kind of looks weird to me. Though weirdly enough, the one thing that did change the Japanese was in Chronostone, the White Deer Gang was changed to Shirashika, which, you know, is the Japanese name, but it's also a direct translation. White Deer means Shirashika, they mean the same thing, so I don't know why that one specifically is just one they changed. But everything else is still the same, localized, you know, it's still Royal Academy, it's still Northbright instead of, you know, Hokyo, it's all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of wish it went all the way. Move names too! Again, I'm more here and there with those ones. Some move names are better localized, some are worse localized, some are the same, it's kind of whatever. But again, it's just, for full consistency, I wish the name toggle changed all the names to Japanese that, you know, would make sense in Japanese. Schools, moves, not just the characters. Freaking minor things, like really, who gives a shit at the end of the day? But I don't know, I just kind of... The thing's there, I just wish it was perfect. The thing with Victory Road is, I feel like half my issues might not be there in a year. This game is always being updated with like so many new things and fixes. Like I remember on release, the game was like kind of buggy as hell in so many ways. Like I got soft locked in a menu, I had to restart the game. There were like graphical hiccups here and there. Weird just like cutscene bugs that I got sometime. It was not a mess, but like for a game with so many moving parts, honestly it should have been way buggier. But again, they were fixing those or still fixing those out of release. When the game released, there was a really annoying boosted rate thing where like in the Chronicle mode, on certain weeks, you would just get more of characters from certain teams, and it was really annoying. I didn't like that at all. But again, they fixed that too. On release, you didn't get bond stars from Chronicle mode, so you couldn't use the gacha unless you played online. They fixed that one really quick. Animations and stuff too are getting fixed. Like, there's always so many things getting fixed, and like I feel like there's things they could just add and just change up. There are a lot of characters who don't have their signature moves in their natural learn set or in their moveset because they were added later. For example, in the occult match, the goalkeeper, he has a voice line for Yugamu Kukan Warp Space, but he also has a voice line for Killer Blade, but that wasn't in the game at the time. He had Gallatin, which was a very obvious stand-in for Killer Blade. They added that later and he had a voice line for it, but when you go back to the Chronicle mode match, he doesn't have that. And he doesn't naturally learn it. I kind of hope in the future they like do a sort of like refresh of movesets for characters who learn moves that weren't in the game when they were there. You know, it's just like a lot of things they could add to the game later. On release and like throughout some of the updates, characters just that didn't have voice lines for some moves that they were known for, that they were added later. I remember a big one is that on release, and I think until the Ares update, Hiroto didn't have his line for Big Bang, so Kido, Fubuki had their line, but he didn't have his, he just did a generic grunt. This game, in a sense, doesn't feel like it was ready to ship sometimes, but on the other hand, it just kind of had to ship at some time, you know? You can't really get every single part of the game right when you've been working on it for this long and there's so many parts. So it was either release it or like it was never gonna get released, I kind of feel. A lot of my things are like minor nitpicks that could be fixed. The team building thing needs a whole freaking overhaul, but honestly, I feel like this game could use like an Inazuma 3 Ogre type re-release in the future. Or for the layman's term, like a Pokemon Emerald or Persona 5 Royal. An updated version of the game that has refreshed moveset with the stuff they added later. The game fully done, not really buggy, probably some DLC, an extra like campaign or something like that. Because there's also the extend story thing, which is just one match, that could use more, and we'll probably get more in the future. But I feel like in a year or two, this game will be like fully really complete and be the full game that it almost is right now, but isn't quite yet. Man, at the end of the day, I just don't know how to fully evaluate Victory Road. There's so much that I like, so much that I dislike, and all of it is in like so many different spots to the point where I have like 3 different scores for the game. I think if you just want to play a JRPG and just do the story mode, this is a great game and an easy recommendation. If you want to experience the entire series, I don't know if Chronicle mode is quite perfect. I feel like I would rather recommend watching the anime or playing the other games first before getting into Victory Road. But then at that point, would that make Chronicle mode worse or better? I honestly just don't know. I don't have that perspective. But I do think it's like pretty solid overall. And then like as a multiplayer competitive game, it's complete dog shit, unplayable. So it's just weird. The game at the same time is like a 9 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, and like a 3 out of 10. That's not a great score. I love this game, but I also don't sometimes. I hate this game, but I can't stop thinking about it. It's just, was this the game that I waited for? In some ways yes, and in some ways no. Do I like this game a lot? Yes. Does it piss me off? Yes. But I can't really deny one thing. This game had so much love and passion going into it. Going through the really long credit sequence, there were just names upon names of so many people who worked away to make this game what it is. Like the programmers, the designers, the hundreds of voice actors, the artists, the music, the everything. There were so many hands, so much time spent on this game, so much time just believing in this game. And even if some parts of it I really don't like, it is a tour de force. One of Level 5's most impressive games to date. I undeniably got a lot of time out of this game, and I technically got what I wanted because the story mode was what I wanted most of all. And while not everything hit exactly how I wanted it to, I still absolutely enjoyed a good amount of time with my game. I would still say I thoroughly enjoyed the game that I ended up getting. But after 200 hours, I am sick and tired of this game!